Buenos dias from 30th Street Station. This is the Rorschach Spain update from the 23rd of July, 2026. Quick summary of what's going down in Spain. First off this week, we have to start with the biggest news. Spain is the champions of the world, at least in football. Sunday the 19th, the country won their second FIFA World Cup with a well-deserved 1-0 extra time victory over Argentina in a final of attrition and heated moments. Fans across the country flocked to the streets to celebrate, particularly in Rocafonda in Mataró, where young star Lamine Yamal grew up. However, Sunday's final wasn't just a stage for football. Following the national team's win over Argentina, attention shifted to a heated confrontation involving several Argentine players and coaching staff during the post-match celebrations. Leandro Paredes, an Argentinian defender, appeared to grab Spain's Eric Garcia by the throat. Meanwhile, substitute Gavi was knocked to the ground by Thiago Almada, a winger, after attempting to intervene. Paredes also pushed Gavi in the face, adding to the disorder. It's worth pointing out that lots of these players, when not representing their national team, are teammates for clubs like Atletico Madrid. In response, FIFA has appointed a disciplinary and ethics prosecutor to investigate the incident, with suspensions for those involved and a fine for the Argentine Football Association among the possible sanctions. Despite the aggressive scenes, Gavi argued that Paredes should not face a suspension. He acknowledged the altercation was not a good image for children, but described physicality and aggression as part of football culture, adding that a red card should have dealt with the matter during the match rather than retrospective punishment. Moving on from soccer, the country is unfortunately battling its largest wildfire of 2026 with more than 600 firefighters, military personnel, and nearly 30 aircraft deployed for a sixth consecutive day to tackle a major blaze in Guadalajara, north of Madrid. The blaze began on Thursday the 16th, and authorities are describing it as one of the country's most challenging wildfires this year, as around 1,200 residents have been evacuated. Firefighting efforts have been made more difficult by the third heat wave of the summer, creating ideal conditions for the blaze to spread. Once again, fossil fuel-induced climate change, increasing the frequency and intensity of heat waves and creating conditions that fuel larger and more destructive wildfires. Next, according to the Fotocasa Real Estate Index, resale house prices in Spain have risen by 17.2% compared to the second quarter of 2025. Reaching an average of over 3,000 euros per square meter, the highest level recorded in about 21 years. Fotocasa warned that the supply-demand imbalance is making home ownership increasingly unaffordable for many households. Official data from Spain's National Statistics Institute also confirmed the annual house price growth. Murcia, in the southeast of Spain, recorded the strongest regional increase, with prices up 28% since last year, while the Canary Islands were the only region to see a decline compared to the start of 2026. The Balearic Islands and Madrid remain Spain's most expensive housing markets, with average resale prices exceeding 5,400 euros per square meter. While prices might be going up over in Madrid, attempts are being made to fix things. On Wednesday, the 22nd, the regional government approved a new housing and urban planning bill aimed at accelerating home building and cutting planning bureaucracy in the hopes of improving the region's housing shortage. Proposed law for balanced development in the region would reduce the time needed for urban planning and approvals from around 12 to 4 years, with some developments potentially approved in as little as 1 year. It also simplifies land classifications from 5 categories to 3, with the government arguing this will make it easier for local authorities to deliver new housing. Isabel Díaz Ayuso, the regional president, has welcomed the reform, but opposition parties, environmental groups, and residents' associations warn the measures could lead to excessive deregulation, increasing urban sprawl, and the risk of another property bubble similar to that seen after Spain's 1998 land law, which caused widespread corruption, with people taking land from others until the property market crashed in 2008. Despite concern, the bill is expected to pass, with Ayuso's People's Party holding an absolute majority in the Madrid Assembly. In transport news, on Wednesday the 22nd, Spain launched its first driverless autonomous on-demand bus service, with transport operator Alsa introducing the innovative vehicle at Madrid's Mercamadrid wholesale market. Fully electric, zero-emission bus can carry more than 30 passengers, operates using autonomous driving technology, although an onboard operator remains in place to supervise its journeys. Unlike conventional buses, the vehicle can be summoned through the Alsa Mobility's app during quieter periods, allowing passengers to request journeys based on their destination and preferred travel time. During peak hours, it follows a fixed timetable. Vehicle manufacturer Autocar and European Project Mobilities for EU have been developing this in partnership with the regional city council for the last 2 years and are in the middle of testing it in one of the country's busiest logistical hubs, which serves around 9,000 workers and 20,000 daily visitors. Same with transport. If you've ever driven the country, you might be familiar with this next road marking magic trick. As of Wednesday the 22nd, the Director General for Traffic, or DGT, announced that instead of speed bumps, they'd be using more innovative dragon teeth road markings designed to slow drivers by creating an optical illusion. The small white triangular markings painted along both sides of the road gradually increase in size, making the lane appear narrower and encouraging motorists to reduce their speed when approaching villages, pedestrian areas, or accident hotspots. According to DGT, since they were introduced around 2 years ago, they have cut accidents in major areas by almost 25%, and this isn't the only thing they are looking at doing. To continue pushing for road safety, there will be a rollout of AI-powered speed cameras using 3D technology. These advanced cameras can detect different types of vehicles from more than 200 meters away. Let's head to the Basque Country, País Vasco or Euskadi. Late last week, Gipuzkoa's new Norte Tres prison was opened with new modern facilities and capacity for around 400 inmates, replacing the aging former facility. However, the new site has been criticized for opening without any public transportation links, leaving inmates on day release, visitors, prison staff, and workers to neighboring industrial estates dependent on private vehicles or taxis. Seems like a bit of an oversight? Well, it all stems from an embittered dispute between the Gipuzkoa Provincial Council and the San Sebastian City Council over which authority should provide bus service. But with increasing criticism, the Provincial Council has had to get involved and decided to launch an experimental Lurralde bus route from mid-September connecting San Sebastian with the prison and surrounding industrial areas. Meanwhile, officials will continue to debate long-term public transport plan as infrastructure planning has failed to keep pace with the prison's opening. If you ever spent time on a terrace sipping a cold glass of Clara, you will know that many people in the country love to chase their drinks with the choice of a cigarette or a vape. Some would argue it's practically part of the culture, but as times change, people become more aware of the effects of nicotine and smoking. The central government is looking to reduce tobacco nicotine consumption nationally, increasing the amount of smoke-free areas available and the availability of nicotine products, including pouches and vapes. On Tuesday, the 22nd, the Council of Ministers approved a draft law that will strengthen and increase smoke-free areas, adopting the legislation to new products, including vapes. They are also looking at closing the legal loopholes left outside the current law, which have been capitalized on by new nicotine product companies. Huge step for the country, representing the most significant update to anti-tobacco legislation in more than a decade. You ever heard of climate gentrification? Many neighborhoods and cities have been reshaped by bougie coffee shops and sourdough bread over the last 10 years or so. But according to a recent study by the Barcelona Laboratory for Urban Environmental Justice and Sustainability, it's no longer about what amenities are available, but more about extreme heat. The article interestingly poses the question to whether fossil fuel-induced climate change is forcing people with more modest financial mobility to move as wealthy residents flock to safer neighborhoods, pushing out people who can no longer afford property or rent prices. By safer, meaning cooler. The study defines places that are most likely to get gentrified by climate as not the ones that are directly affected by traditional forms of gentrification, because while housing prices may be higher in urban areas, they are also more populated, meaning they often are more polluted and warm. Neighborhoods outside, however, are typically less polluted and cooler, and at least until recently, more affordable. Curious? You want to know more? Check the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Anything to ask or tell us, email us at info@rorschach.com. You want to be a peach? Check out our t-shirts at rorschach.store. Hasta la próxima.